So let's recap what all happened here. We tried a new rib method, we tried a new rib rub, and it all turned out really good. So I want to walk you through the method that I used real quick. And I didn't come up with this myself. I borrowed it from somebody else, but it worked out really well. And so essentially what you want to do is, first and foremost, you want to trim your ribs up. I always recommend using St. Louis style ribs as opposed to baby back ribs. I think they're meatier. If you do them right, they taste better. They take a little bit longer, but that's not that big of a deal. But you need to trim them properly. There's a lot of tutorials out there. Serious Eats has a great web article about how to properly trim your St. Louis style ribs. So do that first. And then, frankly, didn't spend a whole lot of time with the rub on them. We put a little bit of mustard on the ribs. That just was a binding agent. And then we took this Kansas City Championship barbecue rub that I had in the earlier videos and just put that all over, let it sit there for a little bit. Got the fire up to temperature. Now, I did this in the Big Green Egg, but you really could do it in any smoker or kettle grill as long as you had a good thermometer that could measure the dome temperature. You want to get the dome temperature to 225 and essentially keep it at that throughout. And I think that's easier on the Big Green Egg because it's a ceramic cooker as opposed to being just a metal vessel like, say, a Weber would be. But you can do it with pretty much everything as long as you're monitoring that temperature. So get put your charcoal in, get the fire built, get your wood in there, and then let all the creosote burn off so that you're just getting that thin gray smoke. And get the ribs on, and you want to try to elevate them above where the fire is at. So I had a second rung of the Big Green Egg. I'd bought it a while ago, and I haven't used it for that much, but I had the ribs up there. So there was additional space between them and the fire. And then 2 hours on one side, bone side down. And then I just flipped it and did 2 hours on the other side. I didn't open the egg at any point except to flip the ribs. You can, if you want, spray down the ribs with apple juice or something like that to try to keep them moist. But frankly, I don't think it matters that much. I've never really thought that it mattered that much. Once you get through those first 4 hours, 2 hours on one side, 2 hours on the other side, then wrap them in foil and put them back on for another hour and a half to 2 hours. As long as you keep the temperature around 225 the whole time, you should be in good shape. And I got to tell you, those were by far the most flavorful and moist ribs that I think I've cooked in a while. A lot of times it's tough. Ribs are tricky sometimes because you have to cook them long enough to get all the connective tissue broken down. And with St. Louis style ribs, it can be tough because sometimes you'll undercook them a little bit, sometimes you'll overcook them, and neither of those is good. But this was right in the sweet spot. They chopped up beautifully. The meaty parts on the one side of the rib were just dynamite, so good. And that was really all there was to it. I mean, it was a very, very simple operation. So try that out. Instead of trying to go offset with the smoker, just keep the fire underneath, elevate the meat, keep the temperature low, and just settle in for the full 6 hours. And I think you'll have some pretty good ribs on your hands. So let me know if you've got any questions, or if you end up doing this particular recipe and you want to try to improve on it a little bit. I'd love to hear from it. Anyway, take it easy.